Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Monday Night Pod. My name is Jeremy Jacobowitz. I'm here with my tag team partner, Adam Welby.
Hey, yo.
Not physically here, but here on the podcast with. This is a podcast all about the Monday Night Wars, all about the battles between WWF Raw and WCW Nitro. Each and every single week, we go back in time, we re-review the shows, and we try and come up with the answer at the end of the day as to who really should have won the Monday Night Wars. Adam, why should people listen to what we have to say?
Because not only are we the best way to experience the Monday Night Wars in auditory form, but this week's episode is a celebration. It's a celebration of technology. Let me tell you, there was a miracle that happened in my house. I've taken to something in quarantine, right? I've never watched The Office before. Did I ever tell you this? Yeah.
This is shocking.
Insane. So I decided to start watching an episode of The Office on my iPad on Netflix while I was in the bath. Because you know what? 22 minutes, perfect amount of time to take a bath, right? Well, Icarus flew too close to the sun, and my iPad snapped off of it. It was sitting on like the corner of the tub, snapped off of the side, or the stand rather, you know, the little case cover that folds and blah, blah, blah. Went bam, right into the tub, sunk straight to Davy Jones' locker, and I was so distraught. I grabbed it out from the bottom of the tub. Obviously, it's not working anymore. It's an iPad, not a phone. It doesn't have the water resistance. I grabbed it. I ran downstairs. I threw it in a bag of rice, and I left it there for 3 days. 3 days after it had totally sunk to the bottom of the bathtub. And you know what I have now? For the visual listeners, you'll see, but for the audio listeners, here's a working iPad.
Wow.
Ah! It's a miracle.
I have two notes for you, Adam. One, I would suggest listening to podcasts in the shower. I have a little Google Home. Whatever. Same. You're in the bathroom cleaning yourself. Mm-hmm. I have a little speaker, Google Home, that I put on the toilet, and then that noise amplifies in the bathroom too. I'm shocked you didn't get electrocuted. So I think it's a win-win-win for you.
It wasn't plugged in. It's an iPad. If you can,
I don't know. It still has electrons moving inside of it, and it's in the water.
You know what? That's fair. But we've never claimed that this is a science-based podcast. This is a Monday Night Wars podcast.
Right, Adam. And the reason why you should listen to us, though, for real, is that we both used to work at WWE. We both used to work in the WWE tape library. Our jobs are to watch all of wrestling. All of it.
Start to finish. Wrestling ended in 2010 then, I guess, when we were watching it, because that was the finish of wrestling. Right?
We kept watching current stuff anyway. So it's till last night, Adam. I know you were chomping at the bit to talk about AEW. So would you like to say what you want to say?
Sure. Well, first
I'll chime in a little bit.
First, I want to say that horses don't chomp; they champ. So it's champing at the bit. That's a Jack Donaghy point from 30 Rock. Another 2-minute perfect NBC television show that we'll talk about really quick. Secondly, Double or Nothing. I fucking loved it. Now, here's the thing. Paid full price for it. Did the whole thing. The casino ladder match is the whole kind of staggering the entrance thing didn't really work for me, and I really feel about the show overall that like it started on a little bit of a hiccup, including the pre-show. Kind of weird timing on those matches, but in my opinion, it just got better and better and better. Even the Shawn Spears Dustin Rhodes thing was like a perfect little break. Perfect little time to take a breath and have a laugh. And I was really impressed by the quality of matches. I mean, clearly Nyla Rose's best match, I think, for the women's title. That was good. Moxley and Brody Lee did exactly what they needed to do. It's like how Moxley needed that match with Omega to show that, like, hey, Dean Ambrose is dead. This isn't Dean Ambrose. This is John fucking Moxley, and this is how Moxley moves and fights and is that character. That's exactly what they needed to do with Brody Lee, and I think Mr. Brody Lee proved that last night in his super physical, great confrontation where both guys look strong in the end. Even though he lost, he doesn't look any worse for the wear, and that's how you book that. And then obviously the Stadium Stampede match is just a masterclass. I didn't get bored. I mean, that match was like it was like 40 minutes, and I didn't get bored for an instant of it. It was so good. So Double or Nothing overall, super positive coming out of it. I think it was great. Sure, like I said, a couple of hiccups. I know people think that the Cody finish was a little overbooked, as Cody matches can sometimes be, but I enjoyed it, and I'm a happy camper for All Elite Wrestling right
I'll say a few things. I think if you were an AEW mark like yourself, Adam, that yes, it makes sense that you would absolutely love that pay-per-view. Me, I think I'm a little bit more subjective here, but I'll preface it with this, and that I did fall asleep during the pay-per-view. And I went back this morning and watched the Stadium Stampede match, but I haven't watched the Moxley or the women's title match. So, which everyone, including yourself, has raved about. So, you know, take what I'm about to say with a grain of salt, considering I missed the two of the best matches of the card.
We should be clear that you fall asleep during most pay-per-views because I'll pass 10
Yes. But to be fair, the pay-per-view was very long. My notes were the Casino Battle Royal. I had my major thing with it was, one, I just didn't think it was good. Two, now we've talked to you guys in the audience about if we were ever to do like watch-alongs for these pay-per-views. So far, there hasn't been that much interest, so we haven't done them yet. But me, myself, I get excited about it. So I decided to join in on the What Culture live viewing on YouTube. No, you couldn't see me, but because I'm verified on YouTube, all my comments are shown higher or like older or something. So everyone's able to see my comments. So the note that I made last night, which was then talked about, I will just repeat here, and that my major problem with it actually was the directing of it, of the cameras. And this is something that WWE has mastered, the gigantic multi-man match producing of these matches. My problem with the Casino Battle Royal match was, or whatever the fuck they called it, is that you always saw everybody standing around waiting for their cue. So you would see Kazarian off in the corner standing there, like looking at his watch, being like, 30, 15. Like instead of actually doing something, you saw him waiting for his cue to next step thing in the match. And that so takes you out of the match. And when you see that over and over and over, where the match layout isn't so different from what WWE does, is everyone gets their shit in, blah, 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 blah. The guys disappear. In a WWE match, you do not see those fuckers until that camera angle is perfect, and then you see them pop out of nowhere. You saw everything. It was the curtain being lifted a little bit with that, which AEW has had issues with in the past.
Yes.
So whatever. That was underwhelming. My biggest thing, just from what the Stadium Stampede was incredible. To me, saved the entire pay-per-view. I still left the pay-per-view feeling very good, where when I went to sleep, I felt very bad.
I would have thought that you would have had some more praise for Jungle Boy MJF, because I thought that was a great outing.
My problem with it, again, isn't necessarily fault. I think that a match like that doesn't feel like a pay-per-view would have been saved by having an audience there, because I think an audience would have eaten that matchup so much and added so much. Both those characters really need it, where I'm like, this is what's a pay-per-view. Yeah, is it a good match? Sure. Like, but was I feeling it? The same thing happened with the women's match. Obviously, more circumstances they couldn't control Britt Baker being hurt, but then just cancel that match. Why did we have to have that?
Oh, you mean the women's grudge match, not the women's title match?
Yes. I think the Cody Lance Archer thing underwhelmed. I think. What else was there? I just, from when the Sean Spears Goldust thing was fine, no problem with that. It was short and easy. The TNT title belt was a disaster. Mike Tyson being there, he didn't do anything. They teased for weeks Mike Tyson punching someone out, and all he did was yawn during the match. It's like it was just an odd one, and it felt off, and it felt too long. And if you had cut that women's match, if you had cut I don't know. I mean, I guess MJF deserves to be on the show, but maybe that's the pre-show, and you can sort of get away with a match like that.
That match is really good. I mean, that's sort of, at least on Reddit, people have that as like the second match of the night by a small margin.
That's because they're marks.
Well, hey, who's paying for the pay-per-view? The mark.
I paid for it.
Yeah, mark. Gotta wear it like a scarlet letter. Well, I think you're in for a treat when you go back and you watch those title matches, because they were
I
definitely.
hope I still get it. This morning I was able to watch the replay. I don't know how long I'll try to watch it tonight, I guess, but I don't know how long that replay lasts. If it's over 24 hours, am I still going to watch it on BR Live? I don't really know how it works.
Well, BR Live or Fight TV, if you want to sponsor Monday Night Pod, go ahead.
I'm not repaying for the pay-per-view, Adam. I paid for it once. I want to watch
you're not repaying for it. I'm saying for them to sponsor our show here, we're happy to take it. And then, then you'll have a little bit more access.
There you go. But they still don't live on forever there. It's not like WWE Network.
I have no idea.
There you go. All right. Well, I guess that's enough of current shit. You want to talk about what we're here to talk about?
I would love to.
Great, Adam. Let's start with Raw, which is what we always do. We are once again from the Wheeling Civic Center in Wheeling, West Virginia. This is episode 176 of Raw, and it's September 16th, 1996. It is the go-home show for In Your House Mind Games. I actually wanted to watch that this afternoon, but I fell asleep. Maybe I'll do that tonight. I have a big night of wrestling ahead of me.
Falling asleep while watching it.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's how I go to sleep every night. So we open a video package previewing tonight's Raw IC title tournament, which we just spoke about, which you didn't talk about. I don't know why I just said that. Semifinals tonight, and then they tease that Diesel and Razor are coming back. We talked about that endlessly last week. It's going to be a lot to talk about this week, so we will get to that. But first, we open up with a Jake Roberts match, and he's going to go against the man that Bob Backlund and Sheikah Baby teased last week. It is the Sultan.
Whoo, boy, it is. Is it ever the Sultan?
Would you like to tell everyone who the Sultan is?
If you're an eagle-eyed viewer like ourselves, you don't even need to go onto Wikipedia to find this one, because that, my friends, is Fatu.
Yes, it is Rikishi. Even through all those tights, Rikishi's ass at this point.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, I could just see it. Even they didn't cover enough of his face that I was immediately like, right. Oh yeah, that's what was his name? Positive Decisions Fatu.
No,
Fatu.
It was make it right.
Fatu.
Make it difference Fatu.
Yeah, there it is. I was thinking Hard Work Fatu, but no, that was Hard Work Bobby Walker.
Yes.
In WCW. Yep. Make a Difference Fatu is now the Sultan. Sultan's pretty badass looking, though.
He's all Middle Easterned up with like a little mask and a little thing, and Sheikah Baby's with them, and yeah, it's a good presentation. I don't know anything wrong with it. It's weird to look back on it, but in the moment, I think it's fine. Fatu wasn't doing anything. Covers fucking face, and he's a brand new character.
Of course, yeah. It's less like his Make a Difference Fatu was so 1994, just in his clothes and his attitude and his music, just everything about him. And this is 1996, baby. We ain't got no time for that early 90s bullshit.
Absolutely not. So this match goes 3 minutes. Bob Backlund goes in commentary. But anyway, as Jake comes out to the ring, as Jake comes out, he goes right after King while his entrance, chases King up the entranceway, but King eventually makes his way back with Bob Backlund to get on the announcer's desk. Phew. So anyway, the match goes 3 minutes.
King just Kevin Kelly and Jim Ross, thank God.
Yes. Match goes 3 minutes. King throws something at Jake, which we then find out is a little mini alcohol bottle from the airport. Like Kevin Kelly had to specify exactly what it was because no one knew what the fuck it was. Mm-hmm. That distracts him long enough for Sultan to take advantage and lock on the camel clutch for the win.
Woo! Slow match too. Very slow. 3 minutes.
It's 3 minutes. Jake is just looking bad. He's just in bad shape, and they're making him wrestle multiple times on a night. I feel bad, man. He shouldn't be out there.
Yeah. But I like Sheikah Baby out there. That's pretty exciting. And also the camel clutch is a great move, and I like it as a finisher, and I wish that somebody still used it. Well, I mean, Rusev had the accolade. Mm-hmm. We'll see what Miro does sometime in the future. But I'm all about the camel clutch. Break his back and fuck his ass, make him humble.
Yeah, I don't think this is bad. You don't have to watch it, but it's a debut of a new character who's somewhat okay, and they're continuing the Jake and King feud, and yeah, it's harmless pretty much.
Yeah, we've certainly seen much less effective debuts in this taping block, nonetheless. If you think about the Stalker from last week.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, next up, Brian Pillman is backstage with Owen Hart. They tease the exclusive interview with Brett at In Your House. Owen says that Pillman has brought the entire family back together. Stone Cold then shows up and says that he will get his answers firsthand from Brett at In Your House, my Gabe son.
It's just you get a good Stone Cold sometimes, like
just a few words.
You lean into it. Yeah, there's a couple of syllables where you really start nailing.
What?
That's right. But it's it's tough to really capture.
I don't have that. I don't have it in me.
Yeah, just that guttural Texas rattlesnake intent.
I'm trying to think back. All my favorite Stone Cold lines are not from WWE Raw or SmackDown or Heat or pay-per-views. They're all from Tough Enough.
Oh, that season of Tough Enough, man. We're gonna start. Maybe once we get to the Monday Night Wars, we'll start a Tough Enough rewatch. We'll decide who should have won each season of Tough Enough. But man, that season where Stone Cold just dressed down to Big Andy. So
the best is like he wouldn't be there the entire episode. Show up for last 5 minutes and just steal the entire show. Remaster sucked. I knew that.
What's your favorite match of all time? Lisa Fox. Roll the match. He put his hands up and did this. And then Vince gave her a contract just to rib everybody. And she stuck around for like 6 years.
She was there longer than almost anybody else from the show.
I know. She's still like, she was getting DUIs and shit and still got to stay on. And yeah, man, I hate that Vince attitude of like, just they hate wrestling. So they should get, they should get a shot like he did with her.
You could mold them that way, Adam.
I mean, Velveteen Dream was like almost not. I mean, he's another Tough Enough disaster, but he was almost not in the company because he was too big of a fan of wrestling.
Right.
Like his whole reason he got voted off that season was because he was too big of a fan of the industry.
He was also like 17 years old or something crazy in that season.
Wow.
All right. Next up, oh boy. It is Sparkplug Bob Holly with his tag team partner, Alex Portois.
Sure.
Versus the WWF Tag Team Champions, Smoking Guns with Sunny. This match goes 5 minutes 45 seconds. Let's walk through it because a lot of other shit happens. Numero uno note. Jesus, Sunny. Good God. If there's anything to watch back from this Raw, just watch Sunny walk to the ring and you can shut it off. That's it.
I mean, Sunny is clearly the star of the show. This is one of her star outfits too, though. That's for
she comes down to the ring and she drops a giant poster of herself from the rafters down.
Yeah. And what was funny was, though, like, we've seen all this Sunny promotional stuff throughout the years, like her on the beach, her in her bikinis, her in their outfits. And, like, she's in, like jeans and a shirt or whatever in this thing that they've dropped, like I thought they might have dropped like one of her, her bikini beach shoots or something like that. But it's just like a blue background, blue jeans and button shirt photo of her.
The ultimate rib would have been if it was one of the photos of Shawn Michaels and Playgirl.
Yeah. Oh man. But just stopped referencing that.
Very quickly. Anyway, during the match, Corny comes down to ringside with some chairs, and him, Bulldog, and Owen set up shop to watch the match happening. JR says on commentary, next week, live, Diesel and Razor will be there. Be ready. Anyway, match actually isn't so bad. Like, again, it was another match I kind of wanted to hate because goddamn Bob Sparkplug Holly and Alex Portois tag team, but it wasn't bad. Like, announcers ignore most of it, but the action ring wasn't terrible.
It was funny though at the one point where Sparkplug Holly totally missed the hot tag. Like he was supposed to get the hot tag.
Yes, and they acted so bad the announcers had to cover for it.
Yeah, because it was in the center of the shot here, which show's not live. I don't know why he didn't pick a different shot to go with. Of Alex Porto completely whiffing his. I think Holly pulled his hand away like too quickly, and he just completely whiffs the hot tag and goes in there. It's pretty silly.
It was strange. Anyway, Sidewinder looks to end it, but like a goof, Billy gets up from the pin as Owen jumps on the apron. Like he could have just pinned him, but Owen gets on the apron and says not to fucking pin him. That distraction allows Holly to roll him up for the win.
Yeah, interesting. They give these guys a win. I guess
I bet it's all building the Smoky Guns versus Owen and Bulldog for the pay-per-view.
Yeah, of course. But, like, we are so much more used to now WWE shitting on whoever's the tag team champions by having them lose stupid matches all the time to one person or whatever it is. We didn't see that as much with the tag team titles before this. So it is a little like, oh, shit, that just happened. But, yeah, there's your match.
There it is. Next up, we go to Gorilla Monsoon. He says that he doesn't know who will be coming because Kevin Nash, they were very specific in this. He says he doesn't know who will be coming because Kevin Nash and Scott Hall will not be appearing next week. He apologizes to the fans, thinking that they have been misled. He says that he will stay there to monitor things as like a pot, and then we hear like a pot and pan clash. It's very weird.
I was about that too. I was like, did a plate fall? What the fuck?
Yeah, and I guess that was to signify JR got up from the table because he was so upset over Gorilla calling him a liar.
He spilled his barbecue sauce. He was so mad.
No, I want to take a step back here because I just don't understand. I get it this way. JR keeps saying Diesel and Razor Ramon are coming back. Gorilla says it's not Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. We're all on the same page. It is not the same people. Now, does JR think that it is the same people? Because he's visibly upset. For the rest of the night, he's going to be bitching and fucking moaning at the fact that Gorilla calls him a liar. So I guess, again, we're going to see this play out. But does he understand that they're not the same people?
I think he's just more mad about being called a liar because he's trying to say that trying to understand his side, he's saying that all he said was that Diesel and Razor Ramon were coming back, and he could see that. And now
Gorilla said Nash and Scott Hall are not coming back. So all JR has to do, because he's so enlightened by all this, is say, yes, I know they're not coming back. It is the I guess he doesn't have to call them the fake Razor.
No, that's all he has to say. But he's been called a liar at this point, and he is incensed at being called a liar.
It's interesting that both shows have that same storyline play out.
yeah, that's true. But I just, even in his early days when he's trying to play a heel, I don't hate JR. I find it very difficult to hate him.
If you want to hate him, listen to the podcast because he is an angry man. I think generally you like him, but you could just tell, like, man, he tries to be all fun, but sometimes Conrad gets him fucking going, and he is a bitter man, and some stuff understandably so. But even like watching Double or Nothing, one of my main takeaways of the ladder match was JR must hate Orange Cassidy so fucking much, knowing the way JR perceives wrestling. For Orange Cassidy to be like, how do I win? Like try to like set up a ladder like backward. I thought it's hilarious.
Oh, it is hilarious. I mean, you really hit the nail on the head, I think, with that match. I hadn't really considered that. I was like, this has so many of the elements of what I'd like, and there were like good spots in it for sure. It's like, why? And I do really agree with you. I think that they captured it wrong. They shot it wrong. And not that I could do any better. It's just, as you said, WWE has mastered that ability over the years, and it's something that, they're still figuring out. So makes sense. And of course, also like the Orange Cassidy gimmick works. So like it still works. It's still over, but like it's so much better with the crowd. Like it's just one of those.
Yeah, it's sort of funny where And we're eight. Oh God, I remember last night because I almost just did it when JR accidentally called the title the TNA title. That's because it looks like the Legends belt, JR. You're actually not so wrong. But it's funny
a
in that
temporary belt, remember. Keep in mind.
great.
It's temporary.
What I find interesting is that it's the non-audience shows really hurt AEW more because the AEW wrestlers are so over, where WWE wrestlers aren't over. So it helps them not to have a crowd because you can sort of cover that up of like, ooh, these guys probably want to be so over, but don't worry, they're not no one's gonna notice. Where in AEW, it takes it away so much from the show because these characters are so based around the reactions that they succeeded so well that it's hurting them.
It's true. It's true to a point. That's why they have to fill it with their own wrestlers. But everyone's trying to make the best of a bad situation, and so it is what it is.
Absolutely. All right. Next up, back on Raw, King is in the ring to interview Corny and Vader. It's a public workout because Jim Cornette is going to be facing what the fuck is his face? Yes.
Jose Lothario, who, as King said, is the only man who has an autographed copy of the Bible.
Anyway, Jim says that Vader has been teaching him, so he has a student in there, Tony Williams, to be the workout partner. Tony Williams does not understand what that means. He decides to start reversing everything that Jim's doing, locking on moves on him. So you know where this is leading. Vader gets involved, and Jim ties the kid up in the ropes and starts just to slap the shit out of him. And we just like abruptly go to commercial. It just ends with Jim Cornette slapping the shit out of him, just out. Like, I can't imagine what actually happened, but they're like, don't show anymore. Don't show.
Well, it was boring as hell and kind of silly, stupid.
I don't know if it's boring. Corny being sort of silly and fun is whatever. I will say the way I will describe the way Tony Williams looks is he looks like AJ Styles if AJ was on the gas.
Yeah, with short hair. Yeah.
Right, sure.
Yeah, I can agree with that assessment.
But again, stupid, harmless, whatever.
I guess it's getting some heat on Cornette, but I feel like, I don't know, the go-home show, like this is how we're spending our hour. We only have an hour of show here. Like,
this is a hot feud, Adam.
I guess so. I suppose so.
It's months. It's been building for months.
You know what would have been funny to do with it? Now, I know Sean is faking an injury and being a total asshole, pilled out of his mind right now in 1996, but what would have been a funny way to build this feud is if they had like Vader and Sean talking shit for their respective managers, like
the reverse.
Yeah, exactly. That would be a way that that would. But
Sean has bigger issues on this pay-per-view. Adam, he can't be messing around with Jim Cornette and Vader.
That's true. Then why the frick is Jose Lothario even involved here?
I made this point a few weeks ago. I don't understand why he's on these fucking shows at all, but whatever. Next up, it is the first semifinal match of the IC title tournament. Owen Hart versus Mark Miro with Sable. Match goes 7 minutes and 30 seconds. I'll run through this because a lot happens while it's going on. JR is back on commentary and he's still all fucking pissed off and shit. Pat Patterson is there for joins commentary because remember, Pat is the first ever Intercontinental Champion and he's going to be reffing the finals, which is odd. They announced that the finals are going to happen on Raw next week, not at the pay-per-view, which is on Sunday, which seems sort of silly.
See, it's odd, but you know what? I'm into it because we are in the throes of the Monday Night War. They have been getting their asses handed to them by WCW, and so I like to think that maybe this is a little bit of an acknowledgement of that. Like, hey, let's step up our game. Let's offer something. Let's offer something on Raw that's more than Bob Holly and Alex Poutreau versus the Smoking Guns in a non-title match. Let's get something out there for you to be excited about and actually want to see, not Jake the Snake Roberts versus the Sultan, Pourtois.
Anyway, we go back to Grillo, who's been sitting there watching on a monitor at his house. He's in like that weird senior citizen room that they always have him in. Which is like, where does this exist? I don't know, but it looks like it's your grandparents' house, which I guess maybe that's what it's supposed to be. Oh, yeah. He says that he's now replying to JR, who's been all fucking pissed and moany. He says that this isn't about a friendship. This is business. They start to argue back and forth. Again, Grillo makes the point of only saying Nash and Scott Hall's name. We know where this is leading, whatever.
I'm excited for it.
Yeah, but it's a momentous moment, I guess.
Right. Well, as we've talked about, I'm a huge Kane mark. So the end of Dr. Isaac Yankem DDS is upon us, and we're gonna get to see this fake Diesel stuff. That's hilarious.
That's right. Anyway, Owen takes off his cast and nails Mark Miro in the head with it, with the ref not paying attention. Miro then yanks the cast off of Owen, nails him in the chest to pin him for the win. Owen, like I said, did it with the ref distracted. Miro did it right in front of the ref, and the ref just made the pinfall anyway because.
Well, they said that the ref was positioned in a way that Owen.
Yeah, they tried to justify it.
As they do. Yes, they tried to justify it. It was a stretch.
Yes, but Mark Miro moves on. Match goes 7 minutes and 30 seconds. There was a lot of other stuff happening. I was distracted. I don't know. Do you have any other notes from this match?
An athletic outing by these guys, but I mean, Sable is still the star in this segment. And, as athletic as it is, it's just kind of a match. It didn't really feel that special, even though it's the semifinals of this tournament. But, man, Miro gets to go for the IC title.
There it is. Next up, you see footage from the WWF South Africa tour. Brett is down there wrestling. So even though Brett has been off TV since WrestleMania, he continued to work the international tours. Just the deal that he made with them. Back in the day, he made a lot of money doing that. And he was always a bigger sort of star outside of America than if he was in America.
Yeah,
anyway,
like that too, because when he's working those style matches outside of there, he doesn't have to do a 3 to 7 TV bullshit match. He can actually go out and wrestle like the Hearts like to do.
Absolutely. They tease that this could be his last match ever. And then we hear from Brett. We get like the obligatory, like them in South Africa, like, look, we're children. Look, we're doing this kind of stuff. And then we hear from Brett. He addresses Brian Pillman. He says that he is a liar. He never made any commitment to be at the review, even though he's going to be there and they're still teasing it. It's a weird thing to call him out for. He says that Owen is a liar too. He says that he hasn't decided what he wants to do yet.
Thrilling.
It's Brett. It's Brett being Brett.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's not much else to say on all that because that is just, this story that's playing out that I don't really care that much about right now, to be honest.
Maybe only because I know where it's heading and I'm excited about it.
Yeah, but even that.
Heading towards one of the greatest matches of all time.
Yeah, that's true. It culminates in that. But at the moment, I'm just not feeling it on Raw. I'm not seeing. Maybe it's because he hasn't been there. I mean, overall, in the entirety of the Monday Night Wars that we've been covering, like Brett has
over a year in.
Yeah, but in over a year, Brett has been a lot less of an impact player in it all than like you kind of think back and remember on. Like he's not on the shows that often. We've seen him wrestle 4 times maybe. Like it's hard to, if you were just starting through all this, like say brand new fan or something, or won't say brand new fan, but someone who's a fan of wrestling, wants to go back, wants to watch these all along with us, wants to understand where all this was. Let's say one of our young listeners who's 16 years old. They were born after the year 2000. For God's sake, you're too young to be listening to this. It has swear words in it, so cut it out and give it to an adult. Anyway, if you're going back and you're watching, you might think, just in the context of the Monday Night Wars, why is Brett such a big deal? Why is he remembered so well at this point? Because in the context of the Monday Night Wars, he's been a nothing player. I mean, the smoke runs infinitely more than Bret Hart.
To me, I mean, my memories, and not that I have any memories, but my knowledge of the Monday Night Wars, though, do tend to lead more towards 1997 and the heel turn more than anything else. And we're sort of seeing why he doesn't do anything. It's sort of like pre-Raw memories of Bret. Of course, he was the champion and he did all his shit, blah, blah, before Raw mattered. We have all these memories. And then it's sort of like heel turn 97. But it's very short because then within 4 or 5 months, he's out of the company.
Right. Well, at least we have all that to look forward to.
We do. Next up is the other semifinal match for the IC title tournament. Farouk Assad with Sonny versus Psycho Sid. Match goes 7 minutes and 15 seconds.
Feels like a lifetime.
Yeah, and then we run through this, I guess, because a lot of stupid stuff happens too. So all night they've actually been teasing all the brand new WWF shows that are premiering this weekend in USA. Talked a little bit about that last week. Don't need necessarily get into it, but what I liked was they were teasing a premiere of Livewire, and they gave the fax number. You could fax into Sonny and Jim Cornette and have your voice heard, which I thought was sort of funny. Match starts power versus power, and then we go picture in picture to hear from more comments from Ahmad.
Gorilla?
Johnson.
Oh, Johnson.
No, yeah, which she's just saying the same thing he says every fucking week, which is like, I don't like Farouk. Oh, okay, who cares?
Yeah.
Ahmed Johnson. I don't know why I said his name weird. He says, I'll burn your ass.
At least you got his name this week.
I know. He said, I will burn your ass up. Great, worth it. Yeah, during the match, Farouk comes off the top rope, and Sid turns into power slam, which I thought was kind of fun. Sid hits a choke slam, but doesn't have enough to go for the pin. Sonny has the ref distracted, so Farouk nails Sid with the steel chair, but it's still not enough. But Sid, like a fucking dummy, picks up that steel chair and hits the weakest looking chair shots of all time, and the ref calls it a DQ. Like, it is like, he's like, And yeah, that's it. Farouk is moving on because Sid is a dummy.
Yeah, I like how you describe it there. Also, this match, I mean, we've seen this happen before, and we've accused them of doing this before, but if you were to just listen to it in an auditory form, which I don't suggest because, again, you have Monday Night Pod to cover you on all this, we're not going to tell you, we're not going to try and trick you, rather, because if you're listening to this match, you think that you're watching Hogan versus The Rock at WrestleMania, when in fact the entire audience is just sitting on their hands the whole time. I mean, it's ridiculous. That's one thing that's especially egregious with the piped-in cheers that they've been doing on these shows, is that, like, you can't be all up all the time, which is what they try and do with these. There's peaks and valleys, and it's a journey through here. But man, this entire match, you'd think that the entire arena was on their feet, except you can clearly see them sitting on their hands. So
they're also in like hour 5 of this taping. There's no way they're gonna.
Yeah, it's true.
But anyway, that's end of that. Next up, we get to take a promo backstage. He says that he will not forget the name Goldust because Goldust is first on the list of everyone he's going to take out on his way to Mankind and Paul Bearer. He says this Sunday he's going to be debuting a new taker. I don't really know what that means. In a final curtain match, which the announcers make sure to mention means absolutely fucking nothing. But anyway, and then the announcers quickly run down the card for Sunday. All the matches, which is actually good. I don't think they've ever done that, and that's what we ask for every single time.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go backstage, Paul Bearer and Mankind, who are in the boiler room. Mankind asks if he will be the new sexy boy when he wins this Sunday.
He does it in the Mankind voice. Where am I going to beat you, Sean? Will all the girls think I'm a sexy boy? It's so good. That's, you were talking about if there's a thing to go back on the show and watch, Sonny's entrance so you can see her in that attire. But also bounce back and catch this little 30-second Mankind Paul Bearer promo because it's pretty fun. I LOL'd.
But that's Raw, Adam.
Sure is, Jer Bear.
Any final thoughts on the show?
Those were kind of what I was going to have as my final thoughts, really. I mean, it's just got a cool Mankind promo. I thought the Undertaker promo was kind of good, too. But, it's just so short. I mean, the matches weren't awesome, but it's nothing really made me excited.
Yeah, it's none of those Raw shows where was anything absolutely horrible like it's been. No. Was anything good? No. Was it, it didn't offend me, and I think it did a decent job of building the pay-per-view. They actually mentioned every feud. They actually mentioned every match. No Sean, which is odd considering that it's the go-home show for your pay-per-view and he's the WWF champion. Mm-hmm. Maybe a little something with him. But yeah, not good, not bad. Sort of, again, one of these weird in-the-middle shows. Is there anything to go back and watch? No.
I mean, if we're being honest, when we say watch this Mankind promo, watch this Sonny strut to the ring, we're grasping at straws,
Yeah.
trying to find something interesting. I mean, it's not like you need to go back and watch the historic debut of the Sultan, because how long does the Sultan even stick around? We'll find out.
He's there for a while,
Yeah.
relatively speaking.
Yeah. Yeah. Before Rikishi comes out.
Rikishi doesn't come back until 1999.
I know, God, we're so far from any of that.
Because doesn't the Sultan faces The Rock at WrestleMania for the Intercontinental Championship?
Oh, geez. Okay. Oh, I totally forgot about that.
The Rock's about to debut. Ooh. We're a month or two away from that, but that's exciting.
Oh, no, it's not going to be. Oh, yeah, I guess November, right? Yeah. All right.
It's Mind Games and then Survivor Series.
Uh-huh.
I think. Maybe there's something else in between there. I kind of thought it was. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see what happens. Anyway, Adam, that was Raw. Would you like to go to Nitro?
I would love to.
Nitro is live from another Civic Center. They're all fucking Civic Centers. In Asheville, North Carolina. They're back. Tony and Larry previewed the show. So last night was War Games. The NWO won. So we see some still photos and we hear what happened. We learned that it was a fake Sting ad and we fucking knew it. So during the match, the real Sting runs down. He beats up fake Sting. But once he beats him up, he fucking hightails it out of there because he's pissed that nobody believed him. So we see that, and then then we see that the NWO murdered Macho Man, and Liz tried to stop them. We see that play out a little bit, so he spray painted her. And then Tony apologizes for many apologies to Sting. He says that Sting was in Japan, even though Sting is not going to say that or whatever. And Larry says, "This is Ward. We don't have to apologize for things, but things aren't good."
You all along that it wasn't the real Sting, so
yes. Yeah. Then we see footage of NWO volunteers, like in the corridor or the entranceway as people walk in. They're handing out flyers as people come into the arena.
Right.
We'll see a lot more of that later.
Same people who stormed the ring as part of the Yes movement.
Right, exactly. First up is the WCW Cruiserweight Championship match. Juventud Guerrera versus our WCW Cruiserweight Champion Rey Mysterio Jr. Juventud, who lost last night and looked like shit last week, gets a Cruiserweight Championship match because, sure.
Why not? Because they're both young luchadors.
Yes. Match goes 7 minutes. During the match, we go outside and see drunk NWO fans celebrating. And then we finally come back to, they just literally leave the match to go see that. We come back to the ring to see that Juvi tried to powerbomb Ray off the top rope, and midair, Ray reverses it into Rana for the pin. It's odd. They completely miss it. It's strange.
Yeah. I mean, these two were going balls to the wall from the moment that the bell rang, so it's sad.
Yeah, I mean, Juvi was much better than last week. I think having maybe somebody mesh a little bit better with made him feel a bit more comfortable. It was not as sloppy, not at all.
Right. He was going against Joe Gomez last week, who, what kind of ring general is Joe Gomez at this point? Yeah, he's a power player, but, still green as goose shit. Going out with Ray here was a very redeeming production for him.
Yeah, I think some of those matches were nothing is wrong. Got a little bit of enjoyment out of it. Is there a million better Ray matches to watch? Of course. Is there better Juvi matches to watch? Of course. But I'd say a pretty good way to kick off the show. Did we need to leave the match to see the stupid shit happening at the NWO outside? No, but we could talk more about that later because it just gets worse the way they leave matches. So
right, and we're going to be referencing this whole people outside thing quite a lot this show.
Probably forever. Yeah. But yeah, anyway, next up, Mike Tenay's backstage. Mean Gene, I guess, has the night off because we don't see him at all. He's backstage with Benoit, Mongo, and Deborah. Mongo says that Lex better find Sting because he told him what would happen to them if he screwed them at War Games, and Sting screwed them. Deborah, of course, reminds us that Mongo played in the NFL, just in case we forgot.
What? What? He did?
Yeah, I know. Isn't that weird?
Steve Mongo Michael?
Yeah, he was a Bear.
What?
Shocking.
The Chicago Bears, the Super Bowl champion Chicago Bears?
That one, he was a Pro Bowl
participant
also.
Why haven't they ever said this before?
I don't know. Benoit says a lot of weird things. Anyway, they're supposed to face Sting and Lex Luger tonight, so Mongo just screams as literally we're going to commercial. He's like, roar!
As
It's what
only
you'd expect from a backstage interview with Mongo and Benoit, I guess. Next up, it's a Glacier vignette. He talks, it's like a very in-depth vignette with him. Talks about his training in Kyoto. His sensei came up with this awesome style. He talks about what all the symbols mean, because in Japan, things aren't always represented by words, represented by symbols, and this is what everything means. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, it was,
Yeah.
it was okay.
It's
fine.
very mid-90s, though.
Yeah.
Like, if you go back and you watch it, it's tremendously mid-90s in its tone, in its presentation, in its shooting, in the costume. And it's funny, though, hearing this guy talk about his extensive experience in the Orient and traveling the world and becoming a martial arts master. But he's telling his story in his own super thick Southern accent. And it's very, I'm fine with it because it's different and it's genuine and it's who he is.
Would you have liked him to have a Japanese accent?
It's just jarring. That's all I'm saying. It's you're not.
Well, they're not trying to hide it, though. It's not like what they did with fucking Albert, where they pretended like he was Japanese. That didn't work out very well at all.
Well,
I sort of more appreciate this, which is a very Southern white man going to Japan and learning these skills while
yeah, I appreciate it. I'm just saying it jumps out at you.
Yeah, that's true. Next up, it's Ice Train with Teddy Long versus DDP. No entrance for DDP. That's not a good sign. More bad signs this match. Match goes 4 minutes and 45 seconds. We got backstage to the NWO volunteers at a merch stand. They tape themselves up around so no one could buy any merch. Mm-hmm. And then we go back, and as we're backstage, the bell rings, and we're like, what the fuck? We come back, and Nick Patrick is holding a towel and says that DDP won. Because Teddy Long threw in the towel while Ice Train had the full Nelson locked on. Controversy around if that was really true or not, but we don't know, because they were just like, fuck it, we need to see these teenagers backstage rather than the match that's happening. We had to see them backstage. We couldn't wait 30 seconds.
And this wasn't a bad match either. There was some real strong physicality going on between these two. There's a couple of matches this night where it's really physical and guys are really going at each other. But a funny tragedy of this from the network that has made it worse. I imagine maybe we would have a better idea of exactly what happened. But during the replays of everything that happened and the match, because, they go back, they do the slow motion replay and they talk you through it. You get no talking through it because they have to not play DDP's music because they're afraid of it not being clearable for the network. So it's just all that footage for 2 minutes over silence from announcers.
They probably should just cut that whole thing out.
Yeah, it would have been better. I really wish we could see the original broadcast on these things.
YouTube actually, I think, has these nitros.
Right, but I'm already dedicating 3 hours of my week to my pre-stuff for this podcast. And I'm doing it for you guys, the Monday Night Podheads, as we've talked about many times. We're doing it for you. But come on, I'm not made of time. I don't have all the time in the world to be like, oh, yeah, I like that. I wonder what the YouTube version is of my 1990s Nitro. I got to find it exactly 40-something minutes in. No, we're not that far at this point. But you know what I mean.
Next up, we go backstage to NWO Volunteers, and they are selling their own merch at the table. So the saga of the NWO teenagers continues. Next up,
speaking of teenagers,
next up, we got a pretty big moment here. 1, 2, 3 Kid is shown in the front row. What does that mean? We will find out. But first up, the Mexican Heavyweight Championship is on the line. Super Carlo versus their Mexican champion Conan. Who's with Jimmy Hart. 2 notes to begin with. 1, Super Carlo lost to Rey Mysterio. So once again, we have someone that lost in championship match is now granted another championship match the next night. Silly, but who cares? I like the Conan actually had the triple. So the Mexican Heavyweight Championship doesn't actually exist. It's the AAA Heavyweight Championship. Normally, or I don't think ever before this, he's actually had the belt. He actually has the belt with him this time, which I think is pretty cool.
It is a sweet belt also.
It is. I did like it. Maybe I should look into buying that one. Match goes 6 minutes and 45 seconds. Today's during commentary for this match. It's a lot of lucha libre Mexican style back and forth. Lots of high flying, lots of flash. I wrote lots of crazy shit.
Yeah, cool stretches too. Like,
yeah, I mean, Conan really is like to just call him a lucha libre isn't fair to his work.
Yeah,
But a lot of that, especially from Super Calo.
yeah, right. And Conan is also, he's in the gear now that he's more remembered for, you know, kind of the white beater shirt and the black pants and all that.
He's in the Dungeon of Doom, which no one's ever explains. Maybe it's because maybe we missed that episode of Nitro of why he's in the Dungeon of Doom now, but whatever.
3 weeks of shows that we missed.
Yeah, that's probably it. Anyway, Black Tiger Bomb ends it, and I wrote, I like Conan.
Yeah,
Conan.
Definitely. What's not to like about? I mean, he's got
Jimmy Hart.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, Jimmy Hart's the thing to not like. But yeah, I mean, thank goodness he's finally ditched that random ass gear that he had, like
left over for the WWF.
Yeah, so bad.
Anyway, next up, Mike today goes talk to Kid in the stands. He says that he's been in Japan, but Nitro is the hottest show, so he figured to come check it out. He goes, who won War Games? I was flying. I'm not really sure. And then they says, well, you know the NWO one. He goes, oh man, gosh shucks, I didn't realize that. Oh boy. So not so little subtle hints about what's to come, I guess.
I'm trying to remember if this is the spot where I didn't appear to write it down, but somebody at one point, it was actually before the commercial when we first saw it, like Larry Zbyszko, like basically immediately goes like, he's with the NWO.
Like, there we go. Well, they're not trying to hide it here, so it wasn't like him blowing the story.
Right.
You know. But anyway, next up, it's Hugh Morris versus Brad Armstrong. This match goes 4 minutes. Hugh Morris goes for no laughing matter and decides to just take forever to pin him. Like, I'm sorry, Hugh Morris. Like, Brad Armstrong is not a jobber. You're in the same level as him. And you know what? He gets his punishment for it because Brad he finally goes to the pin. Brad reverses it into a crucifix pin and pins, lots of pins there, pins Hugh Morris for the win.
Yeah. You know, Brad Armstrong still has that sweet entrance music, and Hugh Morris is still just an awful gimmick. But his no laughing matter, man, he cleared 2/3 of the ring to hit this one, and he put every pound of his 300-pound frame into it when he splashed on Armstrong. You know, otherwise not a whole lot here, but man, that guy could backflip.
That's true. Anyway, next up, hour 2 begins. Mike Tenay is interviews Macho Man at the entranceway to talk about what happened to him in the NWO last night. NWO made him lose to the Giants. But at Halloween Havoc, it's him versus Hulk Hogan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, standard Macho Man promo, but good because it's a standard Macho Man promo.
Good shit.
Yeah.
We go backstage and we see the NWO arriving in their limo. Next up, Macho Man versus Scott Norton. Match goes 6 minutes and 30 seconds. Macho Man is in full-on Macho Madness mode. Literally, Scott Norton is coming down. Savage just fucking sprints out of the ring, goes right after him. They're going back and forth. They're hitting power moves. Sort of your typical Macho match here. Flash is overpowering Scott Flash Norton, if you didn't know. Is overpowering Macho Man throughout. But then fighting to the outside, and Macho Man just completely loses it. Takes a steel chair and just starts beating the shit out of Scott Norton, like unprotected headshot after unprotected headshot. The fans are going ape shit over this. Macho Man shoves Nick Patrick to the ground and runs back up the ramp, and got DQ'd.
Yeah, it's wild. It's just so good that Macho is so over, and it's fun. Apropos to nothing here, but Scott Flash Norton. Somebody posted there's a pretty intricate breakdown of wrestlers who benched the most that somebody put up on Reddit recently. And Scott Norton, as far as like recorded bench record, Scott Norton was like number 2.
Behind who?
It might have been Henry or something like that.
No, that makes sense, Mark Henry. Yeah,
off my head, but yeah, I was like, whoa, shit, he's that high up.
It makes sense. His chest is bigger than I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, next up, Eric, Bobby, and Mike Tenay talk about what Savage is going to do at Halloween Havoc. But next up, it is the official Nitro debut of Glacier. He's going to be facing Big Bubba here. Match goes 2 minutes and 45 seconds. So, Glacier gets his full entrance. He's wearing like all this garb and all this NASA, blah, blah, blah. And then he gets the Fiend lighting. He comes out to blue lighting, and they keep it on the entire match. So, W is copying WCW shit. So today talks about the reason why Big Bubba has been so upset is because the locker room is jealous of Glacier, which I can't wrap my head around because why would you be jealous of Glacier? But anyway, no entrance for Big Bubba. That's not a good sign. Eric is loving every single move in this match because it's all karate moves. Finally, a spinning sidekick to the jaw ends it. The crowd was dead. I kind of enjoyed it, though.
Yeah, well, it's different, and it's Glacier. It's weird, It's but I would pose a question to you. Well, actually, hold on. First, let me just drop this really quick. The numbers that are recorded from interviews, reports, and over the years Wrestling Classic Forum, compiled by a member. So take these with a grain of salt is what the person said, but it's a list of everybody's top bench weights here, and it looks like Scott Flash Norton is third in it as far as the most with 650 pounds. 650 pounds with
who is number one? Who is number 2 and 1?
2 is Bill Kazmaier with 661, and the number 1 is Ted Arcidi with 705.
Let me send a little message out to the folks of the wrestling universe. If you have enough time to sit and go through wrestling interviews and message boards and God knows where else to come up with a list of who has bench pressed the most, also knowing that every wrestler lies and exaggerates everything.
Well, they note in here also about official ones or ones that are on video.
I don't believe it's all work, Adam.
No,
please find a better use of your time is what I want to say. Please.
There
has to be a better use of your time than doing this.
Like keeping track of which nights won on Monday Night Pod.
Yeah, do that. That's much easier because it's all in one place. Please, if you're thinking about doing this, I will send you I can find a charity for you to help or something.
Well,
adopt a puppy, save a child, plant a tree. I don't know, but there has to be a better use of time.
I just texted you the post, but back to Glacier versus Big Bubba. I have a question for you.
Yes.
Who is more in love with the other? Is Eric Bischoff more in love with Glacier, or is Vince McMahon more in love with Shawn Michaels?
There is no greater love story than the one between Shawn and Vince, so it has to be that one.
But man, Bischoff is just
he's like, he executed that upper left kick with such precision that it's always supposed to be 35 degrees, but only the masters could hit it at 37 degrees.
Yeah, Bischoff is just exploding in his pants this entire like he is getting off like no one's gotten off before other than Vince McMahon watching Shawn Michaels strip. So yeah, it's pretty enthusiastic.
Anyway, next up, pretty big moment here. Eric, Bobby, and Mike today talk about the demands that the NWO made. So remember, they won the match, but even before the match, they made extra demands on WCW to get, and that will play out soon. I actually love the storytelling of this because they've teased this so well. And we're only going to look back on it and see all the little seeds that were planted of Eric being part of the NWO the whole time, because he covers it very well and why he had to give in to the NWO demands. Mm-hmm. But when we look back, we're going to see that he was on their side the whole time. So very amazing storytelling there, WCW. But anyway, we're not there yet. Sting comes down to the ring. No music, no anything, no entrance. Just comes down and grabs the mic. He says that last Monday he was flying back from LA to Atlanta. So they said he was in Japan. He was not, but I guess he was in LA flying back from Japan, whatever. But he doesn't specify His back is turned to the camera the whole time. Adam, you hate that, but the announcers made it clear that that is because he's turned his back on the fans because the fans turned his back on him. It's actually playing into the narrative, which I appreciate.
I appreciate that too. What I don't appreciate is bad blocking. This is good blocking because there is intent.
Anyway, he's sort of like tying up the knots to where that story didn't make sense of why nobody trusted him. He says that he wanted to see how it play out. He says, come Saturday night, he saw more doubt. Said at Fall Brawl, he went face-to-face with Luger, but Luger didn't believe him. He says that he said he gave Lex the benefit of the doubt this whole year, which is true. We saw all those little teases of Lex, and Sting always gave him the benefit of the doubt from the second Lex Luger arrived in WCW. Great storytelling here. He says that he gave him doubt 1,000 times. He's carried WCW forever. For the people that doubted him, they could stick it. As of now, he's a free agent, and he will only pop in from when we least expect it. And thus begins the storytelling that is over a year to lead towards Sting and Hulk Hogan at Starrcade 1997. Sting is bye-bye from this moment on.
Spoiler alert there, but my goodness. Yep, this is significant. And, Sting has been so much the poster child of WCW in a lot of ways for so long. And, it's exciting to see what's happening here, but so many questions. What about he's supposed to be in a match tonight? He's supposed to be teaming with
right. Yes. Yeah.
What's
listen, we know the outcome of this didn't work out. So it sort of looks like a bust because that match had a lot of problems. A lot of personal problems for Sting as well. But I look at this and I'm just, yes, if you're going to tell this epic fucking story, it works out that way in that Sting now goes to the dark side. He's in the shadows. You only see him here and there for months and months and months. He's stalking Hogan. And it's this most heated rivalry that must end at the pinnacle of their shows, which is great, which is what they get to. But at the same time, you are taking one of your top 5, potentially top 3 wrestlers in the entire company for the last decade.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to have on TV. You're not going to have him wrestle. You're not going to have him do anything. No pay-per-views, no nothing for over a year. That seems insane to me.
Yeah.
And what happens is what you expect would happen. Sting eventually wrestles a year later after this, more than a year later. Now, substance abuse and alcohol played into this, but he was completely out of shape. He probably put on 30 pounds of fat and lost all his muscle. Of course he did. He didn't wrestle for an entire year. And then you put him in the main event of your biggest show. He's going to ring rust no matter what.
Yeah.
This whole thing makes no sense. And at the end of the day, I know he's probably become more iconic being Sting, the future Sting character. But to me, I liked this version of Sting before he left. I thought that was the best one. I think he's a true, real fucking face. Which would have been really fun to see him go up against everyone as opposed to being moody Sting.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's becoming the Crow, basically. Yeah. No, I get it. And I mean, I always felt like Sting kind of was a step behind of whatever was popular and just kind of followed it. It seemed like hence the Crow, even in TNA years later when he became the Joker. But I appreciate how bold it is. I would have, living through it, I would have been like, why the fuck isn't Sting around? I'd like to see Sting. Why Sting's healthy? Why aren't we using him? But in the sense of watching it go through history and everything like that, it's bold that they were able to have such a grand view of things and such a team. But I mean, who knows when that came about? Because I've listened to a couple other things, and Bischoff said that the third man was originally supposed to be Sting, as we've talked about. We talked about that on the Jericho cruise. Also thinking about when you're saying when he came back and he wasn't really able to do it. Did you listen to Undertaker on the Bill Simmons podcast?
No.
So I was listening to that, and he was talking about the challenges with him getting back into the ring and kind of the multiple reasons why he doesn't think that the Roman Reigns match at Mania worked out and why that ignited a whole nother step of his career because it was supposed to be the end, but it was so bad that he didn't want to do it. And he was talking about that he didn't want to end that way. He was talking about how he has to spend like 2 months, 3 months getting his body ready.
Oh yeah, he talked about this in the doc, that it pretty much takes a year for him to recover from one match.
Right. But he was talking about in the podcast that like that's I haven't watched part 2 of the doc, so I don't know if he touched on it. But yeah, he was saying that when you're active, your body is used to it. It's expecting to take those hits, expecting to hit those bumps. When you stop, your muscles atrophy pretty darn fast.
Mm-hmm.
So, it makes sense that Sting would be.
It's ring rust. It's real. It's not like, as much as you could work out, they all say the same thing. There's nothing like being in an actual ring before.
Yeah.
The bumps are never going to be as big the same way. You're never going to move at the same speed until you're out there doing it.
Yeah. It's like a little callback to earlier in the show when you were talking about Stone Cold's appearance on Tough Enough. I remember the first episode he got in the rings and he like threw a hip toss or something like that. That was the first goddamn hip toss I've thrown in 15 years.
All right. Next up, back to Bobby, Eric, and Tenay. They question what Sting meant. Obviously, we just answered what Sting meant, but they have no idea. We'll see. Next up, it is Chris Jericho and Marcus Bagwell versus Ric Flair and Arn Anderson. Match goes 11 minutes. Again, a ton of shit has happened in this match, so I'll just run through it all.
Let's not just run through it because we got a highlight here. You're doing what the announcers did, just running through, not making a big deal about one of the greatest of all time making his Nitro debut here. This is our first time seeing Chris Jericho.
It is our first time, Adam. I believe that we missed him, though, making his debut a few weeks back.
Oh, I see where it is. Yeah. I see where it is.
So, unfortunately,
Monday Night Wars, then. Remember, that's
his debut on the Monday, however you want to phrase it, sure. It's a very WWE thing. Make up some justification for it, and there it is. Now it's a big deal. I will say Jericho's music is fantastic. It's the song that you heard at the beginning of this podcast. It's very like 80s teen pop, which makes no sense, but I enjoy it anyway. I don't want to go off too far off track, but my favorite Motor Stadium Stampede match was Chris Jericho murdering the Jacksonville Jaguars mascot with the juice effect.
That's good. My favorite, without getting too into the weeds with it, everything from when Hangman Page and Jake Hager met up in the bar until Kenny Omega cheers at the end of it. It's the best thing Jake Hager's done in his entire career by a long shot, and I think he's perfect in the inner circle. As long as he doesn't main event.
Anyway,
as a bruiser in a faction, he's perfect in his current role.
Great, yes, absolutely. Anyway, Flair, the Jericho and Bagwell come out first. Flair's music hits, but no Flair. We go backstage and see Arn and Woman trying to convince Liz to come out, but she's too scared because remember the NWO really fucked with her last night, and she doesn't want to go out. So Arn is like, fuck her, just leaves her backstage, which if she's worried about the NWO coming after her, I would think she'd be better off being with them ringside instead of like leave her backstage. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, they come to the ring. Immediately we go to 1, 2, 3. I keep calling him Kid because what else are we going to call him?
Well, they don't have a name for him yet.
No, he's about to have his name, but not yet. We go to the front row, and he has a big button. He hits it, and all these NWO flyers come out of the ceiling. Ooh. We go to commercial. We come back. Eric makes it clear that Kid is the 6th member. He's the 6th member. Don't you know Kid is the 6th member of the NWO? We'll find out why he's yelling at that specifically in a little bit. We talked about last week why that doesn't even make sense for him to be the 6th member of the NWO, but whatever.
That's for him to get inducted into the Hall of Fame with the NWO.
But we thought about that. Exactly. Anyway, we come back from commercial. Eric shows off all the flyers and what they're saying. They spend like a minute just trying to get the fucking flyers out of the ring. But finally, the match can begin. Eric announces during this match that NWO will be getting their own show at one point. We'll see how that plays out. We go back outside and we see that Kid is officially with the NWO now. Giant Plains, a little boombox with the Sting recording. That's how we heard Sting's voice last week. Subtlety, I guess, wasn't a thing. They didn't really have to do that, but whatever. Oh, so much is happening. But anyway, come back to the ring. Woman rakes the eyes of Bagwell. Arn hits him with the DDT, and Flair locks him with figure four for the pin.
Yep, a pin with the figure four. Love to see that, thankfully. But, the announcers could not pay attention to this match. And I understand.
It's 11 minutes.
Yeah, 11 minutes, but I also understand why. Like, this is prime NWO time. We're, like, going nuts on what's happening there. So I get it. Literally NWO flyers dropping from the ceiling. People are crumpling them up and throwing them into the ring during the match. Yeah.
Can't get around it. Anyway, next up, Monko and Chris Benoit with Deborah are supposed to be facing off Lex Luger and Sting, but Sting just left. So will anyone help Lex Luger? No. It's going to be a handicap match, Adam. Match goes 6 minutes. No one's like, the audience is barely caring about this for some reason. Something's like happening in the stands. They all have their backs turned to it. The announcers are still talking about NWO. Everyone's fucking distracted. Anyway, power slam, locks on the rack, but Flair runs in. Lex locks Benoit in the rack. Sorry. Flair runs in with Arn, and they all just start beating the shit out of Lex. They're just going after him, like just decimating him. At that point, we head backstage and we see that Scott Hall grabs a cameraman. Or not backstage, outside. Grabs a cameraman and brings him into the limo to show that the NWO has been watching Nitro this whole time. They talk about the next teases during the show too, that all of WCW is going to be in Japan next week for a special New Japan tour. The only one left alone will be Macho Man. And also, Syxx has a new name. Syxx doesn't have a new name. 123 Kid has a new name. His name is Syxx because he's a sixth member of the NWO, even though he's not really. Anyway, they laugh and joke, and we come back and we end the show with Lex Luger lying dead alone in the ring.
Yeah, lots of shocking developments. I also wanted to point out for the youngins at home that the NWO is watching Nitro in their limo on a small television screen. And in 1996, let me tell you, a portable television screen, it was a lot bigger deal than an iPad that you can drop in the bathtub randomly. That's some baller-ass shit right there if you had a portable television screen, especially to get something live like that. You can't just pull a pay-per-view out of the air onto something the size of a magazine nowadays.
Oh, Adam. Well, let's see. They were on TNT, so no, you're right. If it was on TBS at the time, it was still over the air. They actually could have literally pulled it out of the air.
I'm saying onto a little, thing as thin as a magazine here, because those old portable televisions. Right. Yeah, those old portable televisions, they were a hardy device.
Right. Well, Adam, that was Nitro. What did you think of Nitro?
Yeah, it was not the best Nitro we've ever had, but it was good storytelling, and it was significant. There's developments going on. We are not at the same place at the end that we were at the beginning, so I'm feeling it. How about you?
Yeah, I kind of agree. It sort of feels like the same Nitro we've been seeing in that the matches don't really fucking matter. There's nothing to go back to watch that way, but the storytelling is great. The little seeds are being planted for so much. I mean, we even looking at it, I think in the moment it looks good, and us knowing what's going to happen makes it look even better. Is it worth going back and watching the whole show? No. Maybe the Sting thing, because that's pretty significant, and I actually don't think I've seen that before, so I thought it was pretty cool. Syxx making his debut is kind of cool. I don't know if there's anything else to really go back and watch, though.
Yeah, I mean the Mexican Heavyweight Championship match is pretty solid, I guess.
There's a billion other matches I could tell you to watch before I tell you to go watch that one.
Sure, there's like you said, there's nothing that you have to go back match wise and check out, but there's this is a significant moment for the NWO, this is a significant moment for WCW, and they're doing all right with it.
Yep. Well, so we both think Nitro is a better show?
I think that is an accurate statement.
Great. So the people who are scoring this at home for us, check off Nitro. The universe agrees with us, I guess. So not shocking because we're in the middle of 83 weeks. Nitro gets a 3.4. Raw gets a 2.1. And another beatdown. for Raw. But we're coming off the pay-per-view. Those are always higher for those shows. So
yeah, very significant pay-per-view too, with the NWO going over in such a significant way. And people are excited about the NWO, man. That NWO was a way of life. Like, you think shit's over today? Yeah, if you think things are over today, nothing is as over as the NWO was over.
Yeah. That's why we're going through it. This is the fun part. Well, I'll get through all the plug shit right now, and then you can have your final words. Adam, if you guys made it this far in the podcast, you are amazing. If you are listening to this podcast, make sure you subscribe to following. If you're listening specifically on Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star review. That'd be great. If you're watching it on YouTube, thumbs up, subscribe, comment below. Let us know who you thought won the Monday Night Wars. I will apologize for last week. I was having computer issues, why the YouTube went up a few days later. I believe I fixed that issue, so hopefully if you're listening to this, it came out on Monday. If not, you can follow us on Twitter at Monday Night Pod, where I was giving updates throughout the week on what was happening with the episode. So if you think anything's wrong, you can tweet us there, or I'm going to be on top of my game and telling you there. It's also where I showed off my beautiful World Heavyweight Championship, if you missed it last week. Follow us on Monday Night Pod on Instagram, on Facebook. Yeah, I believe that's all the plugs. Any final thoughts for the week, Adam?
Man, talking about social media really quick. I know everybody's getting their stuff in, but you know, it was a pretty rough week for wrestling in a lot of ways. We lost a couple of folks. So just Jared says he likes some constructive criticism in our reviews. Constructive. Be nice to each other online. That's a thing that we could all use a little bit of. Little kindness.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry for bullying that person on Reddit that spent all their time making that stupid list. Whatever. I apologize.
Oh, no. You were offering constructive criticism.
No, I wasn't. I was outright rude to them.
Well, your intention may have been. But again, you said that there's clearly a way that you could better use your meticulous note taking.
And I gave them examples on how to do that. You're right. That's constructive criticism. That's, you know what? I take that. I take my apology back.
Precisely.
All right, guys. I'll see you next week.